Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at Loopring, and just before we do, we take a quick peek at Bitcoin. So let's just go ahead and jump right into that and kind of see what's going on here. So quickly note, Bitcoin broke its all-time high at 67,000. It's now kind of resting above that support level established by that break of the resistance. Okay, so all in all, very good stuff from Bitcoin. Not much else to really note here except the fact that it's hopefully going to consolidate for a couple of days and then shoot back up, just based on the simple fact that we use that as a support. So I would say a long position moving forward would be probably something helpful or beneficial to consider. Now, just before we jump into Loopring, I forget to mention that I'm definitely not a financial advisor. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to check out my Patreon community. I have a trading group that actually works very well. So if you like what you see here, of course, then I use that and exercise that every single day in my group. And what we do is we just trade together, learn together, and grow together. It's a fantastic, amazing experience. So definitely check that out before the rates increase next month. Now taking a look here at LRC, one-day chart. What we're doing though first is we got to take a quick peek at just kind of the standard stuff, right? The normal TA stuff, and then we'll go ahead and summarize with a prediction. But more importantly, you can kind of see here what's going on, right? It's got a pretty strong increase. We got this resistance level here at about $2.55, and it keeps rejecting out right around there. Okay, now we'll find out why here soon, but RSI and MACD look good. Nothing really to note there. 4-hour chart. See here if we can find. Yeah, RSI has been up over 70 for a long time on both the 4-hour and the one-day chart. Most people would say that's a bad thing. It's actually a good thing in this regard, because every time it comes down to try to bounce off of 70, it'll continue upwards, right? So 70 is working as a support level on the RSI, which is very good. Oftentimes it works as a resistance. And you can see here too that 50 works as a support level as well if it's above, right? So all good things there in that sense. One other thing to note too before we look at the shorter time frame is you can see this 12-hour period where the price kept getting rejected out by the resistance here on Fibonacci of 212. So $2.12, that is effectively a resistance level, but now it's considered a support considering the fact that it broke above, at least on the 4-hour chart, right? One-day candlestick could be a different story. We want to see how the one-day candlestick closes to ensure that we have this level of support. But simply put, at this point, on the shorter time frame, we can see that if the price were to come back down, it may very well likely bounce off of 212 or 213, really close to that number. Okay, so that's definitely a good sign. That basically pointed that out yesterday, that we have to wait for that resistance level to establish itself, and it definitely did. It broke through here recently. So taking a look here at the 1-hour chart. This is where most of the magic happens based on the price action, the movement. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Of course, we got the cloud. I love this. This is perfect. So basically what this means is if the price were to continue to progress downwards, the cloud should effectively hold as a support level moving forward, right? Now, if it travels into the cloud, no big deal. But if it breaks below the cloud, make sure you understand that that could very well be a sign that the price may continue to retrace, right? Because the cloud works as a very strong support level in bullish trends here. And I like that the cloud is kind of hanging out right in this lower support channel, because we do have a nice little support channel right here, and even a secondary support here as well in case that were to happen, right? So we'll see what happens. But bottom line here is I like everything that I see so far. This little retracement makes perfect sense because it got rejected out of off of the resistance level, which is basically, again, this is a resistance level drawn out from a couple of days ago on the Fibonacci retracement, right? When we pointed out the simple fact that we have this strong little bullish section, right? And what that did is what it was about 1 week of momentum, right? So it took 1 week to get into this zone and to break this zone, right? So now that we broke into the upside here, hypothetically, we'll see another week worth of action before it breaks the upside, right? Now, not to say that's exactly how it's going to work, but most coins have a tendency of repeating the same behavior. That being said, if you take a look at the behavior from before, it had a descending wedge pattern before it broke out, consolidated, and then increased, right? So if we see this, does this pattern look very familiar? Look at this, up, up, down. It almost looks like an M shape, right? Do we see an M shape forming right now? We very well do. Yeah, so therefore, based on previous data, we can kind of extract that there's a strong chance LRC will consolidate and possibly even lose this support zone and work its way into one of two scenarios. It'll work its way either down into this channel here or possibly in the upper channel here. We don't know that just yet. We'll have to take a closer look at it. I'll keep an eye on this. In fact, I can prioritize LRC for maybe even 2 analysis per day. But generally speaking, there's a strong chance we might see a descending wedge pattern forming here soon. Obviously, it's a little too premature to identify that, but that does have the same makings, the same potential as it did before. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Patterns don't have to repeat themselves, but they commonly do in trading, more specifically crypto. We see that happen more frequently than not. So take a quick look at the TD sequential. We're at a 4 on the 1 hour chart. So there's a possibility we'll probably see a reset and it start counting down. If we look at the previous time frame when it did the same thing, we saw it count down to a 9, bounced off support, come up to a 5, rejected out at resistance, and came all the way down to a 9, and it dropped what, 1, 2, 3 tiers, right? So hypothetically, with that same sentiment, if that were to be the case, we drop down 1, 2, 3, and we might see again consolidation right around support about 172. I hope it doesn't come that low. I don't necessarily feel like it should, just based on the fact that we have a little bit more momentum this time around. But I mean, this looks almost the same. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being crazy, but you see this pattern here? I mean, how does that not look the same, right? They're very similar. Again, it's not foolproof. They'll never be the exact same, but that is just something I noticed here. And the chances of this coming back down to at least consolidate between 175 and 210 is pretty high. I don't think we're going to hold support at about 213. However, again, the 4-hour chart kind of contradicts that, right? It pretty much shows us that we have a strong level of resistance there, which could be the new support. But again, the 1-day candlestick hasn't closed, and I'd much rather use that over the 4-hour candlestick chart to identify a resistance and support zone. So I think end all be all here. Maybe I'll take another look at this when the 1-day candlestick closes, because right here at this point, the 1-day candle is basically telling us that it's going to close above $2.12, right? However, all the other indicators are telling us that the price may likely come down, and we might even end up seeing this as a red candle. Okay. Again, potential is there. Also bear in mind too, you typically see anytime you see 3 strong bullish candles, it's referred to as a, 3 white soldiers, if I recall correctly, and that could very well be the makings here. Now this is a long wick, it probably isn't quite the case, but when you see 3 strong candlesticks in 3 days in a row, or just say 3 weeks in a row, the 4th candlestick is commonly a red candlestick. And if we look back here too, even though this wasn't the exact same again, we got 1, 2, 3, followed by a red candle. So we got our 1, 2, 3 right now. Do we see a red candle tomorrow? I don't know. I'm kind of more so leaning towards that. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at here. One last thing we want to go ahead and summarize with is the fact that we want to reevaluate the new, basically the new breakout, right? So we want to be able to see what potential we have if the price were to continue upwards, right? Again, I think it's less likely we're going to see the price increase right away, maybe eventually, right? So the next eventuality, so to speak, if we can get a consolidation over the next week and the price were to ramp back up to break its all-time high again, we're going to be looking at about somewhere in the range of $3.80 as a better case scenario. Again, that's best case scenario. I wouldn't say that we're going to see that anytime soon, but again, I've been proven wrong a few times on the Cadenas and the Looprings that have a tendency of just ramping up at no specific time, right? There's definitely some fundamentals that are factoring in here. So that's why you want to do your own research and always look at those things. But that's kind of what we're looking at here. So again, best case scenario, 380 if this were to continue to pump and break its all-time high of roughly 251. But my speculation is we're going to see a consolidation down a little bit lower in the 175 to like 210 range. Okay, but I'll take another look at this once the 1-day candlestick closes, and we'll be able to identify basically what that looks like first, and then kind of go from there. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and take a peek at that a little bit later. But thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and if you're not currently a member of my Patreon community, check it out. Really cool opportunity, and I hope you have an amazing remainder of your day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.